Israel and Hamas have recommenced hostilities, putting an end to a week-long truce in Gaza that international mediators had aimed to prolong for an eighth day. The Israel Defense Forces accused Hamas of violating the operational pause by firing towards Israeli territory. In response, the IDF resumed combat with Hamas, hitting 200 terror targets by Friday afternoon. Palestinian health officials reported over 100 casualties from Israeli strikes. The renewed conflict shattered the fragile truce, which facilitated the exchange of hostages, about 100 Israeli women and children and foreigners held by Hamas, in return for approximately 240 Palestinian women and children released from Israeli jails. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office blamed Hamas for failing to fulfill its commitment to release all kidnapped women. The IDF stated it was currently striking Hamas terror targets in Gaza, with air raids and artillery strikes reported. Both Hamas and other Palestinian factions fired rockets at southern Israeli towns and as far as Tel Aviv in retaliation. Israel responded, including striking across its northern border with Lebanon after rockets were fired by Hezbollah, an ally of Hamas. The Gaza Health Ministry reported 109 deaths in the renewed Israeli assault, with 4 children among the casualties. Netanyahu's office justified the resumption of fighting to release hostages and eliminate Hamas. Despite Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S. attempting to broker a return to the truce through ongoing negotiations, the bombing of Gaza shortly after the truce's end was criticized for complicating mediation efforts and worsening the humanitarian situation. The truce, initially set for 4 days and extended twice, unraveled after 3 Israelis were killed in Jerusalem in an attack claimed by Hamas. Mediators faced challenges as Hamas struggled to find hostages to release according to the original agreement. Families of the remaining hostages pressed for a new deal, emphasizing the disappointment over the end of the current arrangement and calling for a comprehensive agreement to bring all hostages home. The renewed fighting marked the end of a brief respite for Gazan civilians after enduring weeks of Israeli bombardment and a ground invasion triggered by Hamas's previous attack. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza, characterized by severe shortages of food, water, fuel, and medicine, worsened as the UN reported the closure of the Rafah border crossing. Israel, via text messages to Gazans, urged evacuations from specified areas, signaling its intent to launch a military offensive targeting Hamas. The focus shifted to southern Gaza, where a significant portion of the population had fled, prompting concerns from Western governments about the protection of civilians. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken emphasized to Netanyahu the need to prevent a repetition of massive civilian casualties and displacement witnessed in northern Gaza. The IDF directed people in various Gaza neighborhoods to move to designated shelters and a proposed safe zone in Al-Mawasi, though the UN contested the plan's humanitarian viability.